In this video, I'm going to answer a question that nobody else has asked. What are the limits of the WoW map? Now obviously outside of the main continents in WoW you are surrounded by ocean, but if you swim out too far past the fatigue line, it starts a countdown before you take massive damage, where your character will die in a few seconds. But what if you could swim past the fatigue line? Would there be a limit or edge of the ocean in WoW? You may think that this question could be easily answered in retail WoW due to there being flying mounts. However, almost all of the WoW map in retail WoW is actually surrounded by invisible walls, not letting you go past the fatigue ocean very far. However, classic WoW does not have this mechanic. There are no invisible walls in classic WoW, so in this video we're going to be talking about the edge of the map in classic WoW and not retail. To swim out as far as possible we need two things: water walking and movement speed increases. Unfortunately, getting on a mount or turning into a ghost wolf actually removes your water walking buff that you get from being a shaman. So we need to increase our movement speed the traditional way if we want to travel far past the fatigue line. So I stocked up on some swiftness potions and some rocket boots, and I made my way to the Echo Isles, which is the furthest part in Durotar. I got as far as I could without going into the fatigue zone, so just outside of the fatigue line I turned on my speed buffs and I ran across the water. Although I managed to get quite far, my character eventually succumbed to the damage from fatigue. However, fortunately as a shaman I have reincarnation, and once your character comes back to life, the fatigue counter actually gets resetted. So I could begin this process all over again and I could continue my run across the water. Going this far out in the ocean, my minimap began to stop working and a random line just appeared across the ocean on my map. However, I could actually see this weird part of the ocean where part of the water looks shallower. Despite this water looking shallower, it's actually an illusion. Swimming into this, your character gets frozen in place as you began to fall but not move at the same time. This is some kind of null zone on the map where nothing really exists. You don't even have space to fall into. You are just stuck here indefinitely, you are falling but not moving at the same time. So it looks like the game doesn't really know what to do with you. As physics has broken down, the game just decides to kill you after a while. However, looking off into the distance, you can see that there's some land further off in the null zone. It looks to be some kind of land that goes all the way to the bottom of the ocean. So of course I wanted to get closer to see what this is about. So I started again, this time aiming my character to walk to the piece of land that I saw. But because this land was so far away, I was worried that even with my methods this would be impossible to reach. I needed to use all of my speed increases at my disposal: swiftness potions, nifty stopwatch, rocket boots, speed enchant and reincarnation. I made my way as far as possible after using reincarnation and waiting for the cooldown of the boots and the potions to come off. Despite this, it looks like I wasn't going to make it. I was pretty sure that I would die and not actually get to land on this, but amazingly I managed to get onto the land just as my fatigue damage started to tick, and I have landed on the furthest part of the WoW map. This orange piece of land is technically the furthest you can go on the WoW map. It's obviously right next to the null zone that I was talking about. Looking at the WoW map, you can see how far I have travelled from the ocean. I'm actually quite close to the maelstrom according to the world map. This piece of land stretches for a very long distance, and the floor texture actually changes to correspond with the nearest zone. For instance, this brown floor is actually the texture that belongs to Dustwallow Marsh, as my character gets close to that zone. Perhaps Blizzard added in this strip of land while developing the areas. If you go into the ocean you can clearly see that this unnatural jagged texture actually extends all the way down to the bottom of the ocean floor. Reaching the corner of this terrain, I saw untextured ground, almost metallic looking. Aside from this, there was no way to progress further. If you go into the null zone that I got into before, you once again get stuck in space and time, and the game doesn't know what to do with your character. You start floating indefinitely and your character randomly dies after a few seconds. So that is it. That is the edge of the WoW map. This video was a little different from my others, so if you enjoyed this, please drop a like down below to show support. This is vaulty, signing out.